We thought play is just a field of media in culture, and the computer game occupy in smaller room. But we can say that play has existed before culture, because animals can play themselves. Game seems beyond mankind, and we can realize that play was a fundamental route for generating various culture with various evidence. As you can see in the picture, let's think about play outside the culture. There is a custom called portrait among Indian customs. It is great festival of Indian tribe. Indian chief keeps accumulating a lot of wealth. After accumulating, they compete with another tribe at the risk of their whole wealth. They give their wealth to other tribes. In the meantime, he presents and destroys all his possessions. Then, those who destroy more wealth win the portrait. So they also destroy their canoes and tear their blanket. That the chief will devour the property of his tribe during the portrait period. We cannot understand this behavior with an economic logic we have. But we can say that these events show the swag of mankind. They are trying to show that they are very generous. Indian tribes engaged in variety of cultural activities during the portrait. For example, a wedding ceremony or a coming of age ceremony is done, and they engage a tattoo. So religious ritual, law, and art are born in the Indian tribe. In the book of Huizinger, it said that the portraits represent the basic human desire. This desire is associated with the feeling of pleasure that consume a lot of their own. Similar phenomenon to portraits appears in the Muslim world and also in Asia. By having such an event, peace can come. I think that it is not a fight between tribes, but it is lessen the tension between the tribes. It's strange that they group together for doing unreasonable behavior. I think we can dimly feel that it has contributed tremendously to the maintenance of humanity. These things did not happen only in such an uncivilized group, but in a cultural city like Greece as well. In ancient Greece, there is the word agon, which means game. The word agora comes from the word meeting. Ancient Greece was mostly a city-state, and the agora was the place where citizens get together. Then citizens held events called symposium. The symposium includes drinking wine and playing. In symposium, they sang songs, drank, solved puzzles, and so on. The ancient Olympic game also came out of agon. In the Olympic Games, there were participants and spectators. Spectators have an important role of praising the winner. Agon and the Olympic had no purpose at all. So it started as the game itself and it ends the game itself. Because the game was so serious, the word agony comes from the word agon. I also say that the word athlete comes from this word. And there was something betting and pretium on agon. As you know, if one won the ancient Greek marathon game, he laid a laurel wreath. they are doing the same thing at the modern Olympics. It was not that expensive, but it gave him pride. Praise, prize, and the prize comes from platinum. I can see that a lot of human beings have come into play in this way. From the play, human thought were enriched and the knowledge system was created. Then, when you speak religiously, a religious doctrine came from the play. Also, a rule, a moral, a custom, and so on came from the play. They need rules when they have a conversation at the symposium, and the more they talk, the more they think. If you play the Olympic Games, you have to keep the rules there. And if you win there, you win something else. You can see that these things are creating our orders. We can see that many cultures have been conceived from play. If you look closely at the culture, we will also know that there are also some ceremonies when you play portrait or Greek marathon. It is said that religion rooted in the ceremony. Some ceremonies are also related to the seasons. The same phenomenon repeat periodically every year. It gets cold again, it gets warm again, it gets hot again, the rain has come, crops have grown bigger, the maple leaves have gotten new and gone. These things are going on in a very orderly way, and they intend to express it with their own way. Thus, human beings express themselves in abundant imagination by expressing the tremendous order and the universe that is difficult to express. In such ceremony, some orders exist like game rule. For example, there is a person like a priest or a chief who perform it, and there is proper tension, then dancing, becoming solemn at some moment, making some changes, progressing rhythmically. There are moments that will be fun later. All of these human emotions and behaviors are all religious. And the play has to do with law. It may not be easy to understand, but I think it does. For example, judges wear judge's gown. That makes the atmosphere solemn, not ordinary. Then in the primitive Argon society, the game is regarded as the God's judgment. They had thought those who win the game has received a divine revelation. For example, when they need to judge, they play game like coin toss, and the winner is also win the trial. There was primitive trial. Modern trial is improved from that, but still have a similar rule. Defendant and plaintiff also compete each other like primitive trial. But they follow the logic of the law. In past, they did not have a modern logic or the law. They play game in order to distinguish between right or wrong. It is also an example of cultural influence of game. And the war is the same. Modern warfare is quite loosely, but in past, each army had defamed, taunted, and bluffed to enemy. In opinion of experts, war had not been caused because of economical reason. Most of them think that war has happened because of pride. It could be ethnic pride and the pride of the leader. The war which we think is very serious is also very playful. So even in that war, there is some romantic features. For example, manner of waiting for the enemy to pick up the sword he dropped. There is such a sense of justice and heroism. There are many poems praising war, because war is the greatest collective explosion of human emotions. Singing it as a game can be new to you, but if you just think about it, you can see that war is a game played by groups. It is spirit of knighthood that is regulated there, and it is confirmed as the basic law of war in modern times. I think it will not be hard for you to combine art and play. In the primitive society, such festivals or religious ceremonies, such as playing or dancing, discussing to summon, happened simultaneously. In modern times, it separates things like songs and dance as an artistic genre, but in old days, it would have happened simultaneously as mixed. Aristotle said, music practice is for pleasure, but it is to make you more idle. The characteristics of art with such irrational elements are similar to those of play. Architecture is the same. In French, there are so many towers, but there is no reasonable reason to have them. There are no rational reason for them to be so high and multiple. Most of them are likely to represent the pride of Medici family of Firenze. The palaces of each country are also built so as to pretend to be a great person rather than efficiency. In modern times, churches and hospitals are said to have been built more by such vanity and pride than by faith. Lastly, I finish with a few things about what has been said so far and how it related to computer game to be learned during these 2 hours. The nature of a computer game is that we have all the properties we talked about in play. For example, mimic. It is similar to be an avatar we built. So, by building an avatar, we become like an avatar. If it is very powerful, we can feel empathy with avatar. Furthermore, there are costume players of computer game character. It will be such a characteristic of mimic. I said Agon means the game. It is to compete under certain rules. Every game you play has a rule. Every computer game have rules. The more you know the rules, the more you can win the game. Area is very important in computer game. Unexpected situation can make computer game better. By balancing, balancing is very important in area. It must be balanced using properties and statics. If the stronger person wins every time, game may not be so fun. When we gamble, pool slot machine, they have to be a chance to win, so we can enjoy the game. Also, when you play the game, elinquency is created. Elinquency means concentration, especially when you face to a variety of challenges. For example, when you play juggling, you will concentrate and be immersed in juggling. When you ride a roller coaster, then play racing game or play shooter game, you have to be immersed in the game likewise. Computer game has such a factors to the brain have. So next class, we will focus computer game to investigate these things.